Is there anything, looking back, that you've said that you think, I shouldn't have said that?
Well, there's the tweet that cost me my home.
What was the tweet?
Well, let's not definitely repeat it, you know, so that it becomes another thing, because we can't afford to lose more houses, can we? But I basically accused some trout of doing something she didn't do. I got the people muddled up.
Oh.
I can't even remember her name. I've kind of erased that from my... And it was someone, it was a terrible thing. Someone defiled a war memorial, which really pisses on my chips because I'm ex-military. And I launched one on Twitter, but I got the wrong person. It was some other really obnoxious lefty. You know, they're interchangeable. But anyway, she sufficiently got litigated, and a new law was created that said, a new online law, because that law of course doesn't exist until we make it up, that said that I did her serious harm at the time of publication of that tweet. And that cost me my home to fight that. Because I tried to fight on the basis that you could not, serious harm cannot just be perceived. You cannot just perceive serious harm. I was trying to preserve some sort of speech for other people at this point. But the law was amended and became new. Mine is the case law for perceived serious harm.
No regrets?
No, not even that.
But surely, might you not have regret getting the name right?
Well, you could sort of say, in hindsight, I wish I'd got the name right. I totally feel like that. But now I see the way online, you know, that law ended up, some lovely comedian, funny woman, and left, woke, but whatever, funny, stood up somewhere, I think bloody Edinburgh, did a gig about her husband and their divorce and what a shitbag he was, funny stuff. He used my law of perceived serious harm to take her apart. And that was the very thing. When The Guardian and Channel 4 were all celebrating the demise of Katie Hopkins, you want to go, guys, this is going to bite you in the ass. And of course it did. And of course The Guardian was very sorry for the lady who lost everything because her husband sued her. But this is the way of the world and the way the law is going. But I think there's things you learn very quickly being me or someone like us, or maybe just me, but is, you know, the law is not the law. It's whatever a powerful person decides for it to be. Democracy is at best an illusion.
And at worst?
And at worst, a contrivance of control. And when you find out those things, it's disappointing because you kind of want to believe in those things. Like, I liked it when I thought police officers were like top blokes.
And what do you think they are now?
Instruments of the state.
Right.
And I think that isn't to do with being cancelled from social media now, or it isn't to do with being cancelled from your job. You know, that's way out there. This is about being removed by your own family group now. This is about being removed by your neighbours. So like COVID and lockdown made it so that those conversations were so punitive, people stopped even talking to their own family about what they actually felt. And I think that's where we're at now.
Because, for example, people who were pro or anti-vaccine would disown someone who disagreed.
Yeah, it became the new left and right, or the new far left, far right, whatever. Whether you were if you were pro-vaccine, or part of the group that felt that your life was somehow at risk by people who were anti or just didn't subscribe or wanted everyone to do their own thing, that became so conflict-ridden that people lost loads of their friends or family members, or were disinvited from funerals or weddings. You only had to look at, I don't know where you sit on, I always like to ask you things.
You can ask me whatever you want.
I remember this last time and you going, I'm asking the questions. Where did you sit on lockdown? Were you very happy with lockdown?
So I understood why lockdown 1 was decided. Because what I tried to do retrospectively is put myself in that position, because it's easy to bark from the other side of the fence. If I was in the pen, I could personally have forgiven lockdown 1 for a brief amount of time, until it was very clear that some people call it a glorified common cold, other people call it basically the flu, whatever. But at some point it was very clear that the implications of locking down could be much more worse than not locking down. So as far as I'm concerned, the second one and the third one were gross misjustices. And to have all of your livelihoods taken away from you and not be able to go and see your families at funerals. And we had a staff member, lovely lady, she just recently died of cancer and it just took her really quick. And we're all convinced that she couldn't get her treatment quick enough. And had it not been for the complete constriction of the NHS, partly due to lockdown, she probably would have got seen. And I wonder how many more people are like that. And I understand now that there's data coming out that says that the consequences of lockdown are worse than what lockdown saved. So that's my view.
And I think that's, everyone can say, well, in hindsight, do. But I think at the time when some of us...
Just sorry to interrupt you, just to be super clear. I gobbed off about this at the time. So I'm not sitting there going, looking back. Like, the lockdown happened, I'm like, careful. All the businesses are going to go under. The economy's going to be fucked for a decade. Careful. And then within a few weeks, I just started gobbing off about it. And I've got 110 staff in my offices. I've got another 44 outsourcers. I've got 360 properties and 1,200 tenants. I've got a lot to fucking lose if I get shut down. Yeah, but I still stood up and said exactly what I thought was right.
I'm not saying you were being in hindsight.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to make that clear though. Yeah.
That's a lot of people you've got to look after.
Yeah.
You don't look that old, as in age does not weary them, as in the burden of being responsible for making sure all those people take their pay packet home. I'm not saying you're some sort of father figure and you have to look after them, but what I'm saying is
we didn't really let anyone go in lockdown. I worked fucking 16 hours a day to keep all them in a job. And I'm really proud of that. And I actually really love having all those people.
Yeah, of course you do.
Hopefully
I
their
just
lives
think it's
are
epic.
better. Yeah.
I know, I think it's epic you have them.
The government nearly ruined my ability to do that while they were having fucking parties and while they were breaking their own rules. Especially, do you remember that Christmas when they called it the soft lockdown? And they just absolutely ruined so many businesses. 5.5 million small businesses. And by the way, where's all the support for those 5.5 million small businesses? A lot of people in this country go, we should tax the rich more. No, you shouldn't. You should tax the super rich more. And the rich, you should fucking let them grow their business. Because probably people think if you earn 150 grand a year, you're rich. You're not. But let's say you earn $1 million and you're rich. You're not, but let's say you are. Those people need less tax and less friction and less intervention. But the billionaires, if you charge the billionaires 5% more tax, that's trillions more in the economy, give that all to the small businesses grow the economy, and we won't all get charged 65, 70% tax, which is what's happening now. Anyway, this is about Katie Hopkins, not Rob Moore. Where were we?
No, I know where we were, but I think it's an important thing that you do employ all those people and you give homes, you create a transaction whereby people have homes that they can rely on and someone supplying the homes that looks after them. And that kind of is the point about lockdown, is it threatened people like you and those people who didn't make it through.
Who pay millions of pounds a year in taxes and generate tens of millions for our local economy.
Yeah, and had possibly run that business for 6 to 8 years, but for 20 years have flourished and then shut down.
Yeah.
And that, I think, was such the heartbreak. And what I was trying to say and where we were talking about how I see police now. But so for police and for us to watch them impose and enforce lockdowns in such a brutal way, so that for some of us who went to gatherings in a park to say that we don't agree with this, but we're meeting up, and we were polite and distanced and all the rest of it, but it was about just going, we're standing because we know this has got to be wrong. Watching the police that, when some of them, at least some of them must have known what you know and what they knew and what the person with the mum with cancer knew, or the person who was going to lose their shop or their restaurant or their bar knew. Some of those police knew that, but were still willing to beat up people in the street. And that's, to me, that's broken my faith in anything to do with policing completely.
Before you go, that was just a short excerpt of a long, deep dive, insane, intense conversation with Katie Hopkins. You can watch the full interview here. Before you get out of here, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn the notification bell on. And remember, if you don't risk anything, you risk it.